Welcome to my channel and the second part of a multi-part series on things you can do or stop doing to improve your mental health. And today we are going to look at alcohol. Also, a major component of this is your physical health as well. So even if you feel like you don't have any of these types of mental health issues or concerns, this affects your body. And I'm going to show you why, and not just that alcohol is bad way. We all know that. You're going to learn a ton of stuff that you didn't know. So let's get into it. So alcohol, like everything else, is on a spectrum. Yes, you're going to have that relative or somebody that can have one drink at Christmas or a glass of wine on an occasion, maybe two, and shut her down. And then you have all the way on the other side, people have lost their house, their home, their kids, and everything else because of alcohol or other addictions. And then we have a spectrum. So high responder, low responder. Basically, that's your low or high tolerance people. Low responder person is going to be a person that, drinks a ton of drinks in a given period of time. And let's say it's 1 a.m. and they're still looking for more alcohol. Or you got that buddy who gets drunk off 2 beers. And this goes the same with almost all substances. People are going to have high or low tolerances. You're going to have to figure that out honestly for yourself. So basically how this works on a mental health level is you have these cycles, whether it's anxiety or depression, you drink, you trying to deal with the symptoms, then you use, and then you have the defects, and you just go round and round. Or what I'm going to do is put it more in layman terms, screw my life, work sucks, I need a drink, my spouse, whatever's going on, busy. Then all of a sudden you start drinking, it's happy hour. Next thing you know, you're asking your buddy the next day, were you even at the bar? Who drove yourself home? Maybe it was you. Then you say you're never drinking again, and then you're right back in it. Ever been there? Yeah, I know you have because you've made it this far in this video. So you can see here these issues just as a percentage. If you drink with, let's say, 2 or 3 people, if you're not the person, your buddies are, or if they're not, you are. You might have this depression and you might know the symptoms and whatnot. You might have this anxiety. You might not even know it. I didn't even really know some of these things until I started doing some homework on it. And I'm like, yeah, these are things for me. So the odds are if you drink at a reasonable amount, you have these issues. And the crazy thing is you might be one of these persons. Only about 2 in 5 of people who actually have these problems even go seek treatment or even know they should get some sort of treatment, whatever that might be. And then if you look on the right here, this is alcohol consumption in the EU. This is just in 2019. North America, most other places are similar. You have some outliers, but if you average it out, it's about like this. Question I have is if somebody drinks every day, how much is it? Is it one? Is it 2 bottles of wine? Is it a 12 pack? Is it a Mickey of vodka, a 26 or whatever it might be? And then as you look over time, things get exponentially worse. Maybe 1% of people are drinking, every day. And then as you move forward in life, you get around to 45, 54, and that goes up 8-fold and all of a sudden to 16-fold. So ask yourself, are you here? Not necessarily age-wise, but is this what you do and how much? So let's get into why. We know who we drink with. We know where we drink. We usually know what we drink, or at least depending on what time of the night it is. But do we know why we drink? And this is a huge factor. It's called an adverse childhood experience. If you hadn't heard of this, it's basically things like substance abuse, divorce, whatnot in the home as you were a child. This can be so many things. You could have been physically abused, whatnot. You see them here. And again, if you've made it this far, this is just about anybody that's watching this video and 100% of the people that know somebody that could see this video. So as you can see here, as these ACEs go up, all your health outcomes, basically in a negative standpoint, increase. Poor health, depression, asthma, cardiovascular disease, cancer, all these things. And also the percentage of fault, as in the portion of a problem that's linked to having one of these situations happen early in your life. So about half of it of depression is caused by an ACE or alcoholism, drug abuse. You see these numbers, it's pretty crazy. Or if you look at the percentage of people that are given a prescription per 100 per year, you have one ACE, you have a 50-50 shot of getting a prescription, or even if you don't get a prescription, probably having an issue with it. Same with things like smoking. The more of these ACEs you have, the higher it goes up. Same with anxiety or mental health conditions or separation or divorce later on in your life that you might have, or alcohol and heavy drinking later on in your life. So if you've had one of these, you got to start thinking about it. Now, the main cause or the main issue is that unfortunately, if you have one of these things or more happen to you in your life, they affect the front part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex and whatnot, that is responsible for your willpower. So if you have these things that happen, Then you start asking your questions, why can't I stop? Or why can't a relative or friend stop? This starts to get hardwired into your brain for things like tobacco and alcohol use, psychiatric disorders. And also, even if you haven't had this, let's say you had the perfect life and the perfect childhood, but your mom and dad didn't, or either or your grandparents on either side, this can get passed down into your genes and epigenetics. They can see these markers in your genes. This is not just random psychobabble. This is science that shows this. So it gets hardwired into your brain to have potentially these psychiatric disorders, which can lead to alcohol, tobacco, and drug and other drug uses, diseases, crime, this type of thing. So it's a little bit of a different cycle here where you have the ACE, you get into addiction, you have mental health issues, or vice versa. It just goes round and round and round. It's very similar. Now, if you've looked at this in any way or read a book or whatnot, everyone always talks about these dopamine spikes that we're looking for to relieve the stress or whatnot, or get that dopamine hit. Yes, this does happen. So you get your baseline, you smoke a joint, you drink some beer, you do some coke, whatever your deal is, you get a peak, and then your crash doesn't go back down to your baseline. It punches right through it. And then over time, if you don't even touch it again, it will return to baseline. But the problem is every addiction causes a dopamine spike. However, at the same time, all of these cause cortisol and stress in your body. Alcohol does on an acute level, like that day of drinking and the next day of recovering. Cigarettes, weed, coke, all of them do it. So you have to ask yourself, what was first? Did you have an ACE first and get that cortisol? And is this what your body's being used to? And here, what we can see is, I call this the addict starting five, because a lot of you out there, maybe even in one single given day, whether it be a Friday and Saturday on the weekend, who knows, maybe it's every day, have some coffee, smoke some dope, do some rails, smoke cigarettes that whole time while you're drinking alcohol. A lot of people do this, or maybe they do 2 of the 5 or whatnot. You can see the dopamine spikes on the side. So that goes 100 over baseline, or 200 or 300% over baseline. And then it goes back down. So a lot of what happens, the reason why people combine these things is because you're looking for even more and more dopamine. So let's say you're in high school, you start smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol, then you're smoking weed, and then cocaine's next, and then you're drinking coffee with it, because you're always looking for more and more dopamine, because you do it, you go way back down, and then you need more to get back up to that same baseline, because your dopamine gets more and more depleted. But also at the same time, you have these stress problems. So you end up being addicted to stress. You may have been addicted to stress your entire life. So often enough, we use these things to cope, but these are the very things that cause the stress and the cortisol in our bodies and in our life. So you have to ask yourself, why am I still in this stressful relationship? Or why do you always get in these stressful relationships where you're always arguing and fighting and whatnot? Or why are you always in these stressful jobs, or still at this stressful job, even though you probably could have done 10 different other jobs, but you stayed there for 7 years and complained about it to your friends and your family and whatnot? Or why do you still use, even though it causes you all this hardship and stress? It's basically because that cortisol is looking to keep its level up, because that's all you've known. You basically just end up in these places. Now, I'm going to further prove my point when you look at stress and what stress does and the similarities to alcohol. Look at the basic similarities of what they do. Heart problems, high blood pressure, depression, anxiety, and whatnot. We are consuming the stress. We are consuming exogenous or outside sources to make the stress level stay at the same spot, to have that baseline stay at the same spot. If you look another thing here where it shows things about stress, we see the same things: heart attacks and strokes, erectile dysfunction, decreased libido. Or if you look at other things such as what I covered in my previous video about gluten, joint pain with stress and joint pain. Or what I'm going to cover in my next video about seed oils, depression and anxiety. Stress causes depression and anxiety, inflammation. You're consuming the stress. You're using the outside sources to make the stress. So why are they always telling us that gluten's safe and it's fine? There's an alcohol store on literally every corner. There's more places to get booze than there's doctors in most places. Gluten's great. Seed oils are in 70% of the calories we consume, because they make people money. They cause these issues. Somebody profits. These people donate to campaigns. I'll get into that in my next video. And then also, you have the issue of financial stress and distress, which causes anxiety, which causes the lack of hope. I'm never going to get ahead, because you're spending your money or percentages of your wages or whatnot, or your earnings, on alcohol, on coke, on cigarettes, on heroin, whatever your deal is, and then that causes you that financial distress. Okay, so that's an issue. So now we have this thing called repetition compulsion, and it's part of why we keep doing things, because as much as these things hurt us, it's the only thing that we've known. So rather than stopping or quitting, we keep repeating the process because it is a known versus an unknown, which basically causes us fear. So we'll keep repeating these things. And this is basically a thing that I came to talking to people and whatnot, going, oh yeah, maybe they're just addicted to the stress and whatnot and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden I started asking myself, well, what if I am? Then I came to the epiphany. I remember that I know where I was walking and everything. I said, I am. This is my problem. I have an addiction because of things that happened to me in the past. And the past is huge. There are these people that say, oh, it's in the past. You know, that's all done. You got to focus on the future. No, it's not. The science is there. It's in your body. If you haven't dealt with it, it's in you right now. It's the reason why you go to the liquor store or whatever, even though you told yourself the day before or last week, or you had a nice streak going of 12 days or, 2 months or whatnot. It's why you go. It's so powerful, these chemicals in your body that overtake these things. And often enough, it is these people that say, I don't believe it, that these issues are affecting them the most. Maybe they had 4 or 5 ACEs in their life, or 2 very acute and long-term ACEs. You can learn about this stuff in these books. There's tons of resources for you. I'm going to get into some solutions in later videos. For now, I wanted to bring these things up to you. These are great books. This is a great video, The Brain and Recovery, The Neuroscience of Addiction. I learned so much from this video. I even go back to it at times. Or Soft White Underbelly. If you've seen a show like Intervention or whatnot, that's a good show to see real life of it. But Mark, in this show, he always asks, like almost his first question, what was your childhood like? Almost every time, 95% of them have 1 to 5 ACEs. They talk about divorce, abuse, and whatnot. And they'll always say at some point, whether it's an hour-long episode or 28 minutes, they will say they just do it to feel normal because they're just trying to get to that baseline. And they're also doing a lot of them just to avoid withdrawal, whatever it might be. So a lot of people are going to say a lot of these things. Well, it's not going to happen to me. Well, and then it does. The odds are there. If you keep going, it's probably going to happen unless you're that person that has that 1 glass of wine at Christmas or whatnot. Or they'll point the finger back. They'll say, well, what about you? Yeah, I've done these things. I'm coming at you from experience. I'm not saying I never have. I'm not an angel. This is why I'm saying this. I'm trying to use what I've learned both from my life and my research to try and help you out so you can understand things. And then there's, of course, denial, which is part of the 3 amigos: deny, deflect, and blame. This is a triangle of justification to not be responsible. Oh, well, what about you or my parents, my boss? This is why I do it. Or, I'm not an addict. I don't need help. It's all in the past. All these things. Every addiction is wrapped in a bubble of justification, and people lie their way out of reality who have been hurt by reality. So if you're doing any of these things and you're not being honest with yourself, especially the denial component, then it's best to wake up and figure this out so you can be a good example for yourself, your kids, or whatnot. So I wanted to bring awareness to you. Maybe there's a problem. I know there's a problem. The solutions are going to come. I will be showing this, but as of right now, you can't solve problems if you don't even know they exist. You can't find a solution if you don't even know the cause. And again, whether this is for you or somebody else, I will start going over solutions. They're going to be covered. Again, for now, think about how this stuff applies to your life. I'm going to ask you to like and subscribe and whatnot for a reason, so other people can see this. I don't make a cent off this. I am like very close to 4,000 hours of views and literally 1,000 subscribers away from making a cent. I actually lose money because I lose time making these. Time is money. So if you can share this with somebody, that would be cool, because I'm trying to share this with you. So don't think I ask for money or anything. I'm a long, long ways away from that. I want this stuff to help people. Thanks for finding my channel. Please, again, like and subscribe. I'm glad you made it here, and I'm happy to make these for you, and I look forward to making more of these for you in the future. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one.